Welcome, episode 4 of the Ballverse Podcast. I'm Jared.
And I'm Camden.
All right, let's dive right into it. So the most recent news that just happened yesterday, Arizona Diamondbacks left-handed starting pitcher just got called up. First MLB start, Tyler Gilbert. Records a no-no, first career start. What do you think about that?
I turned it on for the last couple of outs because we were at the Tigers game yesterday, but he's what was he, a 27-year-old journeyman.
Yeah.
Came up 3 times prior as a reliever. Only recorded 5 strikeouts during the whole start, so he just kept the Padres off balance, and that's a hard lineup to get through. So that was some pretty cool stuff. Good for him. The celebration looked nice, and that's pretty crazy thing to happen. Arizona doesn't have a lot of good things happening for him this year, so
yeah, his dad was in the stands, so that was another really cool thing. His dad was there to witness it, so that's always a nice little thing. But he was only the 4th pitcher to do it in his first career start.
They kept highlighting him.
Yeah. So yeah, he joined.
Which is crazy to think there have been.
What?
I mean, it's crazy to think 4 people have done that.
Right. The other ones were Ted Brietstein in 1891, Bumpus Jones in 1892, and Bobo Holloman in 1953. So it has been
Bumpus
Jones. Yes, that is a real name.
Good for Bumpus.
But yeah, this was the first no-hitter thrown in a first career start in nearly 60 years, in nearly 70 years. Yeah, it's been
it was also the first
Diamondbacks
no-hitter at home.
Right, yeah. All the other Diamondbacks no-hitters have been away.
He's breaking a lot of single records. I don't know what to expect from Gilbert going forward. This might be the career highlight for him.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say that this is his peak. Like, he's already 27. He's not going to be an ace. He could be a solid end of the rotation guy,
I mean, you'd have to look at some of the advanced metrics. He might have been helped out by some luck, but hey, not a bad thing. But we're on the baseball subject, I think we should touch on Miguel Cabrera real quick.
Yeah, 499, nearly 500. You were there yesterday. Very nearly got 500.
Oh yeah, the crowd. So Comerica Park's been desolate for a couple of years now with the state of the Tigers. Not many things to root for, but it's been a bit more of an exciting season. And with Cabrera approaching the 500, there was a lot of doubt at the beginning of the year whether or not he would even get to that this year with his declining power numbers. His OPS plus his slugging is like below 400. So it's like a home run or a single with him.
Right.
But as he's been approaching 499 and he went on that road trip, the minute that he came home at 499 back to Comerica, ticket prices skyrocketed. All the concessions are up 2-3 times prices because I've been there 4 times this year and the prices this time were insane. But every time he stepped to the plate, everyone would erupt. There was a Fiesta Tigres night yesterday. I got a free jersey for being in so early, so that was cool.
Nice.
And they were announcing all of the Latino players prior to the game. And everyone erupted and cheered for Cabrera, and then everyone else was kind of like no one was paying attention. So it was just really funny that literally everyone was there for Cabrera.
Right.
His second at bat, he hit a line drive to center field, and it was really loud off the bat. So the crowd absolutely erupted. It was insane. Yeah. But it was just a can of corn to center field. His third at bat, he got hit by the pitcher, and the entire stadium was booing and yelling at him. It was really funny. Then his last at bat, he hit a deep fly ball to right field, and it hooked around the foul pole. It went foul, but I'd have to see a video of it live to see how far foul. But I was in the right field stand, so it looked like it had a chance. Yeah. Then he walked, and they took him out of the game and everyone left. Everyone just started piling out. I was obviously there to watch Soto shut it down, but
Right.
it's exciting. The energy in Detroit is unmatched to where it's been in the past. And, I think next year he'll approach the 3,000 milestone. And I think he might be one of the last hitters ever to get 3,000 hits just because the way the game's changing as far as taking pitches and walking. You can't have a high walk rate and get to 3,000 hits, but he won't be the last 500 home run guy, but it's definitely been exciting to watch.
Plus, look at all the no-hitters that have been thrown this year. I believe there's been 8 no-hitters alone this season.
Yep. Does that tie the record? Or is it 9?
It's got to.
I think that ties the record, and 9 would break it because there was the concern that we would break it earlier in the season, and then they made all the pitchers stop using spider tack.
Yeah. Looks like it set a new single season record.
Oh yeah. So 7 was the previous record.
Yeah, so 7 was the previous. That was most recently in 2015.
Oh, okay. So and that's kind of how the game's trending.
8 then ties the all-time record, which was set in 1884.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
84. Jesus.
Yeah.
That's been a bit. Over 140 years, but no, it's been interesting, and I want to be at the game when he hits it, so I'm hoping he doesn't hit it today because it's a 1:00 game, and I don't have time to get down there today, but now maybe I'll be there Tuesday if he's still on it. But it's been fun, and it's a good swan song for Miggy, who's really not been himself for a couple of years now, and he's still got 2 years left, making $30 million.
Yeah,
and it's going to handcuff the Tigers' ability. Well, they have an $80 million cap, salary cap.
Think if they were to offload his cap, they'd be in a lot better position.
Yeah, outside of him, they're spending $50 million, and I think based on the energy that this might influence them to spend some money in the offseason and have a competitive team, and the fact that they're in second place and the only good team in the division is the White Sox. And boy, are the White Sox fun. Dude, Tim Anderson.
You watched the Field of Dreams game?
Oh, of course I watched the Field of Dream game. That was really cool.
That was easily the best MLB game this season.
I think I've been hearing a lot of pushback on that game where it wasn't really doing anything to bring new fans in. It was kind of a throwback game for people who watched Field of Dreams in the 80s.
And it knocked it out of the park.
I think it was really cool. I hope it doesn't turn into what the NHL did with the Winter Classic, where they just started overdoing it. I think if they
keep it to like maybe a once a year thing, I think that would be the best possible thing.
Yeah, but if they start doing it 3 times a year, 4 times a year, and then they start building them in other areas,
that would ruin it. Yeah,
it might get overplayed. But I think right now, and they had the storybook ending with Anderson hitting the walk-off and all the runs scored. It was really cool to see. The score bug in the bottom right was really cool. I love the throwback jerseys. I'm a big baseball history guy, so I had a lot of fun with it. I think the White Sox are a fun team. I think if Garrett Cole was able to pitch, it would have been a lot more fun if we actually had like Cole versus Giolito. But Lynn versus
Lynn was an all-star.
Was fine.
Don't forget that. Lance Lynn is having a great season.
Yeah, but Lynn does it by keeping you off balance with his cutter and sinker, whereas Giolito would have been out there just overpowering people.
Sure.
Plus, I traded for Giolito in the league, so it would have been nice to watch him pitch.
Well, and then, Andrew Heaney, he's not the best pitcher. I mean,
no, and he was a deadline acquisition.
Right.
But
he's a like 3-4 guy in a rotation.
Yeah, he's a good pitcher, but he's not the one you want to watch on national TV.
He's not the guy you want to have in a, wild card game, go home or advance. You don't want him on the mound for that.
You want your $200 million pitcher, Garrett Cole.
Yeah, Garrett Cole. Yeah.
So has Cole Hamels signed yet, or is that still a rumor?
I haven't
seen anything.
I think
the Dodgers
Dodgers
he'll
join in September.
Gosh, the Dodgers are really getting ready for the playoffs here.
Yeah,
Bringing in
it's
Scherzer,
unfair.
Duffy.
Trey
Well,
Turner.
that's when your owners are willing to spend. You have some good teams. But the Giants, Jesus, the Giants, they're still ranked number one in most of the power rankings that I see. And no one was expecting this from them. And a lot of their rebuild in a way is tied to the Tigers a lot because they were kind of in the same position a few years back when they drafted Joey Bart. And boy, are they outpacing the Tigers at this
Yeah.
point. They built a great team. But what was MLB is looking at expanding the playoff to 14 teams this year.
Yeah.
That would be because a lot of the leagues are doing that with COVID and trying to get more people to watch. And
Well, no, I don't think it'd like be used this season, but possibly after this season. That's
no, it would
what
be okay. Yeah, it would be because the CBA is coming to an end, so they might
right.
look at expanding it.
Well, yeah, we tried a 16-team playoff last season due to the pandemic. But what I was talking to my dad about this, and he said he wasn't a big fan of it because then it gives more chances for worse teams to win a World Series. Like,
so my biggest problem with expanding the playoffs, and it's fine, it's where everything's going because you get more eyes on the game, you make more money. That's where it's headed. But during the early days of baseball, there was no playoff.
right.
It was you win the American League, you win the National League, and you
Yep.
play in the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
So winning the pennant and the regular season had actual meaning.
Right.
The regular season was the competition to get to the World Series, so it had meaning. Now it's kind of like we're playing 162 games of exhibition baseball to see who makes the playoffs, and the playoffs is all that matters.
Right.
So it makes the regular season, which drags on for 4 months, seem like nothing.
Yeah.
It's almost useless. And you have a bottom feeder team like the Tigers or the Orioles, and no one's watching them because they don't care because they're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to make any noise, and it doesn't really matter. So the more you expand the playoffs, the less the regular season matters. But at this point, that's where it's headed. So expanding the playoffs just makes it more of a tournament style and gets more people watching it. So, I mean, it seems like it's where it's headed because they can make more money. So it'd be hard to fight it at this point.
Right.
And hey, you get some Cinderella stories in there, and that's fine. Because do you want the Dodgers winning it every year? That's why the Yankees have 27, 28 championships, is they would just outspend, win the regular season. And at that point, it's a coin flip. They're always going to be better than the National League team at that time.
Yeah. I mean, just MLB's a business first. So
yeah, all the sports are a business.
Right. And they're going to want to make as much money as possible. So obviously,
look at the NHL playoff. The NHL playoff is gigantic, and it's the most exciting playoff because it's the hardest one to get through. And playoff hockey is completely different than regular season hockey. They play harder. They enforce the rules more. It's just a completely different animal. So maybe a lot of the leagues are looking at that. Basketball, it feels like players only really try in the playoff. Football, I feel like football's playoff is still pretty limited. Not a lot of teams get in on that.
I mean, yeah, only 6 teams get into the football playoffs. So,
gosh, yeah, and I don't even know what that's like as a Lions fan.
Yeah, it's been a while since the Panthers have been in it.
Have you seen some of this? So the preseason, I didn't watch too much of the preseason, but I was
well, Panthers
checking
haven't
out.
even played their preseason game yet.
Is it today?
Yeah, 1:00.
But I was watching some of the highlights from some of the young quarterbacks, and Trey Lance looks like he's got a gun. Lawrence looks like he's as good as advertised. The one thing I noticed was the Texans took a beating to the Green Bay Packers. So it looks like, you can only say so much with preseason.
Right.
But Jordan Love didn't look good. Their only touchdown they scored running. Their third string guy didn't look very good. So
Zach Wilson looked decent.
They might be in some serious trouble when Rodgers is gone because it doesn't look like the Jordan Love experiment is going to work.
Yeah. They shouldn't have drafted him first round.
And they don't like him. They don't want to play him. Rodgers doesn't like him. He doesn't want to help him. Rodgers is completely out. So if the Lions stuff works, they might have a serious shot at pushing for the division in the future because it seems like all the teams are down. Did you catch Justin Fields at all? Because that was one I was interested in. But with being out yesterday, I didn't check
I heard
in on
he had
it.
a so-so showing, I guess.
I'm interested to see if he comes out as starter. I don't think he will. I think it might be like week 6 that he comes out to start.
I agree. Yeah.
But this stuff about Urban Meyer saying that there's a quarterback competition is ridiculous. There's no way.
I think that's just media, like, trying.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
Like you trying not to discourage Gardner Minshew. Yeah, because there's no way you draft Trevor Lawrence first overall and then start Gardner Minshew.
No.
Don't get me wrong. Minshew's probably a great number 2. He's probably someone you feel very confident with as your backup quarterback. And he might go get his chance to start at some point in his career, kind of like Teddy Bridgewater did. But
yeah,
I mean, come on, it's Trevor Lawrence. So I think that's a lot of smoke for nothing. But what I did find interesting is what's going on in Seattle with Dwayne Brown. They don't want to give him a new contract. The left tackle, he's at 38. Right. They don't want to give him a new contract.
Right. And Russell wants them to.
Russell's talking about how this guy's a great athlete, how they need to bring him back. And what's been the biggest problem with Seattle? Well, Russell Wilson's been there. They always
offensive line.
Yeah, they always fail to give him an offensive line to protect him. To his credit, he's probably the best quarterback at extending plays and evading things in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
But come on. There's already been rumors about him being unhappy in Seattle, and now you're going to prioritize re-signing Jamal Adams, a safety. How much impact does a safety have on the game compared to a left tackle? It's night and day. Right. So if you're going to really prioritize giving all this money to a safety over protecting your franchise quarterback, I think that's a big mistake. Which is part of the reason I love what the Lions have done with this last offseason and these past couple of years, just building up that offensive line.
Yeah.
Football, no matter how much it progresses, always comes back to the trenches. You win and lose based on your offensive and defensive lines. Mm-hmm. Because the way the game's changed, you can't cover receivers anymore. Receivers are allowed to do anything, and you touch them and there's a flag. So when you're playing defense, your main goal is to take time away from the offense. And when you're playing offense, your main goal is to give your quarterback time to find an open receiver, because there's always going to be an open receiver unless you have the Lions wide receiver core. Yeah. So with that in mind, you need to pay that offensive line just to give your running back holes, your quarterback time, because all defenses are being built around the pass rush, which is why the Lions defense last year was ridiculous. They never blitzed. Yep. So the reason you're playing defense is to take time away from that quarterback, because even Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers, all these great quarterbacks, the only time you can really get to them is when you're blitzing them, is when you put them under pressure, because you give them a clean pocket, they're going to tear you apart. That's just how the league works. Especially when you start looking at guys that can break plays open, like Lamar Jackson, like Russell Wilson, like Deshaun Watson. Those are the next generation of quarterbacks, that style of quarterback play. So, gosh, a safety that might have 5 interceptions, and that's a great year compared to an offensive lineman.
Good season last season. I think he only had 1 interception last season, or 2. I think he had a down year last year.
Thinking Pete Carroll is reminiscing on the no-fly zone days, or whatever they called it. What was it? The Legion of Boom. That's what they called themselves.
Richard when they had Sherman, DJ or
Cam Chancellor, and the free safety,
Earl Thomas.
Yeah. So Jamal Adams is probably the closest thing to a Cam Chancellor in the league today.
Yeah,
which is great.
His power.
But that doesn't work if you don't have a good center fielder. And that was what Earl Thomas was. So I think they might be making some wrong decisions there in prioritization.
I think if the Seahawks don't resign Dwayne Brown, Wilson's going to want out, and it's just going to start the decline of the Seahawks. And
I get it. He's 38. he's older. Maybe you don't want to give him a 5-year extension, but you keep him there until his play falls off. You keep him happy until you need to find a new solution because they
Who
have
knows?
never
His
been
play
able
might
to
fall
find a
off this
solution.
year.
Who, Wilson?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about Brown.
Oh, Brown? Oh, yeah.
Wilson,
Brown too. I mean, he could fall off this year.
he could, but he's not coming back if you don't give him a new contract. So I don't know, you got to keep some people happy in order to have a competitive team.
I think quarterbacks are arguably the number one person you should try and make happy because he's the pretty much heart and soul of your team.
Well, yeah, look at Aaron Rodgers. They're going to be a mess without him. And it's all because, and I don't necessarily 100% understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone points to, they've never given him a first-round wide receiver. Drafting skill players in the first round isn't a good way to build a team. So not giving him a first-round receiver, I don't think that's that big of a deal because they've given him good receivers. They've found good receivers. Devontae Adams, you're going to complain that he wasn't drafted in the first round? It doesn't matter. And then they gave Aaron Jones all that money. So they're giving him weapons. They still have one of the best offensive lines with Bakhtiari. And it's just, I don't know. It seems like he's making a big deal out of nothing because he wants the Tom Brady treatment. Well, the Packers aren't going to give you the Tom Brady treatment. They're the Packers. They're not the Buccaneers. They're not going to sell their soul for a title. They're going to operate the way they've always operated because they got Brett Favre. They went to Aaron Rodgers. By all signs point to them knowing how to run an NFL front office. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with Aaron Rodgers, but as a Lions fan, whatever. But I would be interested to see where he goes to.
Yeah.
I guess he could go to maybe New Orleans.
Yeah, if Drew Brees. I mean, yeah, Drew Brees. Oh yeah, Drew Brees already retired. Yeah, he could. I mean, especially if Jameis Winston doesn't pan out, or Taysom Hill, or whoever they start.
Taysom Hill's a gimmick. He's not a real NFL quarterback. He's Sean Payton's pet project.
Yes.
It's not a real thing. I think
media loves
Jameis Winston has an incredible arm, has all the talent, but his decision making's never been there.
No. I mean, look at his 30-30 season.
Right. And unless Payton can fix that, I don't know if there's a real future there, but he might be a fine Band-Aid. You know, he's not going to hold you back. But what is going to probably be a big deal doesn't look like Michael Thomas is up.
Yeah, I was just
very happy.
Yeah, no. Well, he did attend the game yesterday. He was on the sideline. But yeah, he doesn't seem that happy with this situation. I heard that he said the Saints tried to damage his reputation and stuff, and
Sean
maybe he's trying to play victim or something, but
which he's always been ever since he broke out, and he's had some incredible seasons, but although they call him the slant god for a reason,
right?
A lot of just catching passes from Brady and falling, or not Brady, Breeze, and then falling down. So he might feel he's never gotten the respect he really deserves with that type of thing. But he seems like he's pretty upset with some stuff, and I don't know. I'm not really too sure that New Orleans needs to bend over backwards to keep a wide receiver around. I don't think you win by overpaying skill position players. Again, they're kind of replaceable, especially wide receivers. Wide receivers, one of the deepest positions in the league.
Right.
I think you cater to, the lines again and the quarterbacks. So I don't know how much I would really be worried about trying to keep Michael Thomas around. But
I mean, the wide receivers they got right now, like Traquan Smith, he's an up and coming wide receiver. I think he'll be able to make a difference. Marquez Callaway, I think he could be a solid receiver. And then Lil Jordan Humphrey, I think he'll be a nice receiver. And then Tommy Lee Lewis, he got some reps last year.
Did they draft anybody at the position?
Quan Baker. I mean, But he was a 7th round pick, so I mean, he's not going to be anything special.
Gosh, interesting to see how they come out then. I guess Kamara's going to have to shoulder a big workload.
Right. I mean, and they got Freeman as a backup. I think he'll be a solid backup. Latavius Murray,
Oh, they still got Murray around?
Yep. And he got some reps last year.
Well, while we're on the running backs, it looks like Saquon Barkley's back.
Yes, good for him. Glad to see that he's back.
It's good for football to have a talent like that on the field. He could do some great things. I don't know, the Giants. Giants aren't really a team without him. They still got that Danny Dimes at quarterback. He isn't doing much, but Saquon's awesome. He's a lot of fun to watch. It was upsetting when he got hurt last year. It should be a lot of fun to be back.
You think Saquon's going to be able to play week 1?
I mean, he's been out for a while.
Well, yeah, that type of injury is nothing to beat around the bush about. I mean, tore his ACL.
They say he may be available. I don't know if they'll want to rush him back. He'll have to definitely be at 100%, especially with how often running backs get injured. I think they'll want him back as soon as possible. But as this is saying week 3, he could be out till. So it might be a wait and see on the first half of the season. But if we see him going strong at the second half, that should bode well.
I think it would also depend on like how the Giants are doing, like their record wise. Like
they're going to be doing bad.
Who knows? Danny Dimes could just break out. You never know with these.
I think we all know.
Well, all right. Let's look at the Giants' schedule. Let's see what their schedule looks like.
Didn't they lose a bunch of weapons too?
I mean, they got Kenny Galladay from free agency.
Oh, that's right.
They got Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. Oh, and they also got Kadarius Toney in the first round.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. They are loaded at wide receiver.
Yeah, they stacked up on along the outside.
So, but Galladay's got to be healthy. He's
right.
My problem with Galladay, watching him his entire career, he's not a separation guy. The biggest thing that's keeping Galladay from being an elite receiver is separation. He's one of the lowest ranked wide receivers in getting separation. Now, granted, you have Darius Slayton and Kadarius Toney, who are guys built on speed and separation, so they can take some of that load off. But is Danny Dimes going to be able to hook up with him when he has no separation? The reason Stafford was able to work with him is because Stafford's elite arm strength and decent accuracy was able to put it into a place where only Galladay could go get it.
Right.
It's not about just lofting it to him and letting him go get it. That doesn't work with him. So I don't know how much success Galladay is going to have there. Obviously, I hope the best for him. He is still on my dynasty team, so I do need some success from him. But I don't know. I just don't have a lot of confidence in the quarterback room there.
Well, I think the Giants' schedule is pretty friendly the first 3 games. They got the Broncos in week 1. They got Washington in week 2. And then Atlanta week 3. I mean, they aren't world beaters. I mean.
Right. But, we go back to the trenches.
And then the Saints, they're going to have a down year. Cowboys, who know how good Dak's going to be. I think.
Wait, start from the top.
So I got Broncos week 1. Washington week 2.
Pass rush.
Falcons week 3, Saints week 4,
pass rush,
Cowboys week 5,
pass rush. So all of those teams outside of the whichever one, the Falcons, have elite pass rushers. And then we look at the offensive line in New York with Jonathan Harrison at center. He's not a world beater. No. Willie Hernandez, he's pretty damn good. But that's
Shane
really
Lemieux,
it.
I think he's going to have a good season. Nate Soldier
is an overpaid left tackle. He's not great. He was kind of a disappointing draft pick. So it's really going to fall on that line because are they going to give them enough time?
The Giants go 3-2 in the first 5 weeks. I could see them be 3-2.
And I could see them going winless if that offensive line isn't able to give him time to hook up with these great receivers. And that's, I guess, my problem with the way this roster is constructed. They have great receivers. They have Evan Ingram.
Well, that's Dave Gettleman. He loves to focus on wide receivers.
Yeah, so
what
they
he
got
did
all
with
these
the
skill
Panthers.
players, a mediocre quarterback who's athletic, and if he had better awareness, could extend the pocket and get some things done, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
And then you look at the just piss poor offensive line, and are they really going to be able to do anything? Sure, they might be able to squeeze out some wins with great performances from these guys, but it's not a winning formula. It's not something to write home about. Whereas I could think the Lions would maybe have a bit of a surprising season because they have that offensive line and mediocre skill players. It's just,
I think Lions probably go 8-8 this year at best.
And I think that is a breakout season because most media pundits say they win 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, and that's fair. I would be fine with them being terrible, getting a high draft pick, but showing heart and kind of like how the Pistons season went. They were terrible, got the first overall pick, but all the young guys showed that they were willing to play and work hard and show promise. That's kind of how you want to rebuild going. I'm just not confident in this roster construction. How's their defense even look? Do they make any big splash moves there? Leonard Williams, Shelton.
Yep.
I feel like their secondary is pretty solid.
Yeah, they got James Bradbury, who's been
Peppers.
solid. Darnay Holmes, Adoree Jackson, who they just got from the Titans. Yeah, I mean, they got a solid secondary.
But where's their defense lacking? It looks like that linebacking in D-line.
Yeah,
it's just a backward-ass roster.
Well, Azeez Ojulari, he was a top prospect going into the 21 draft, but he fell all the way to the second round to the Giants. I think that was a nice little gem there for the Giants. But he did tear his ACL in his high school senior season.
Oh, this guy. Here he is. It would be a shame. It would be nice to see the Giants be good because Saquon deserves some success, especially coming back from that. But it's not something I would hold my breath for. Yeah. But while we're talking about coming back from injuries, how about someone who might be going back to the injured list? It looks like the Patriots spending spree might already be backfiring.
Oh, who got hurt?
Hunter Henry is expected to miss a couple of weeks with a shoulder injury. It doesn't look too serious right now, but it's not a good sign for someone who is constantly injured and just got a gigantic contract.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Patriots doing something that's not like them, spending a ton of money in the offseason. They might have quickly learned their lesson here. But you had something interesting here with Miami's King signing an NIL deal with the Hockey Panthers. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah. So it was the first deal of its kind. De'Aaron King, who's sort of like the real pusher for these NIL deals, he was kind of at the forefront of this, and now he's getting all the big bucks. I mean, he's one of the highest earning players in college at this point. He's up there with people like Alabama's what's his name, freshman Bryce Young. Yeah, that's right, Bryce Young. I heard he's made nearly 7 figures, and he hasn't even taken a snap yet on NIL deals.
Good for him.
Yeah, he's raking all the money.
I heard about something. Go ahead.
But yeah, De'Aaron King, he became the first ever collegiate athlete to sign an name, image, likeness agreement with a pro sports team. So, breaking down barriers. And
did you hear about the really cool thing that Built Bar did?
No, I did not.
So BYU and Built Bar is a Utah-based company. They make, I don't know. I listened to a bunch of the sports podcasts.
They're a protein bar, right?
Yeah, it was what's the Locked In podcast. Built Bar is a big thing with that. But they said every player on BYU's team, there's 123 players on the football team, and they're putting all of them on scholarship. They're paying them enough to reimburse the scholarship.
Wow.
So this is the type of sponsorship that you could see a lot of teams getting. And it's just showing that the NCAA, by delaying something like the NIL, has been costing players not millions of dollars, but the opportunity to have college paid for by playing. So you kind of show how the NCAA was kind of holding players back by this type
Easily.
of endorsements.
I mean, think about in years past, like how much, big time players would have made in college. I mean, Vince Young would have made a ton of money. Reggie Bush, whew,
He
off the
did make a
charts.
ton of money.
Yeah. He should get his Heisman back, though.
And I'm all for the NIL. It's hard for colleges to pay players, even though colleges are making all this money off players, because then they'll get into the weeds about like, oh, well, we're going to get rid of the sports that don't make us money and just have football and basketball. And you obviously don't want that, because a big way a lot of people go to college is field hockey, swimming, and doing all these other things they love doing and having that last opportunity to do it. But if they're not making money off them, they'd start cutting them. So you look at other ways for players to make money and allowing them to have endorsements and bringing the college football game back and all of that. I think that's a great thing for them, because these players are going out there risking injury, risking all these other things, doing it while going to school to make the colleges billions of dollars. It wasn't a fair system. So I think this is a great way to treat the players as actual workers and give them an opportunity to make real money, because you look at some player like Zion Williamson is always a great example, because when he was in college for that 1 year, he had an ankle injury that turned out being nothing, but it looked like it could have been close to tearing his ACL. And if he tore his ACL, well, maybe he doesn't go first overall. Maybe Ja Morant goes first overall. And that's millions of dollars he lost out playing in a meaningless game that didn't matter, because no matter what, he was going to be taken first overall. So just by putting themselves out there and risking that and getting no compensation for it, and everyone's like, oh, well, they're getting all this money for college. Well, that doesn't matter. These players like Zion Williams and Karl Anthony Towns and all these great basketball and football players that are going to make it to the league no matter what, they only go to college because they have to. LeBron James didn't go to college, but if the rule existed back then, he would have. But he would have only gone to college because he had to. They're not going because they want to. So saying they get the scholarship paid for is just totally missing the point. They're making them way more money than this scholarship ever cost. Tuition's higher than it should be anyways. So saying that's fair compensation I think it's missing the mark. What do you think about that?
No, I definitely agree. It's well overdue. I'm glad to see that players are finally getting what they deserve. I mean, like what you said, they're putting their careers on the line, and so it's a big risk that they're taking by stepping onto the field when they could be for sure.
And football is one of the most dangerous sports.
Yes.
All these players with CTE and all these different things that are coming out, football's dangerous. People play it because they love it and they know how dangerous it is, but to pretend like it's not this incredibly dangerous and reckless sport is wild. So these kids, these college kids that are playing this game and making you all of this money and literally risking brain damage and getting $20,000 for a scholarship is ridiculous. I think it's wrong. I think it comes from a lot of people like, oh, well, I had to take out student loans. Well, you're not a professional athlete. It's a different world. Sorry. That's how it is.
But I mean, yeah, look at, Jake Butt a few years ago was in a bowl game for Michigan and ended up getting injured. And that's really hurt his career in the NFL. I mean, he's been on the Broncos, but it's not like he's had a huge impact for them.
And I'm fine with players skipping bowl games, because bowl games are a weird waste of time. It's all for pageantry and making money. So unless you're in the playoff at this point, or one of the top bowl games, the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and all these top bowl games, I don't see why you would play if you're looking at getting drafted in this offseason. Because what was the other big one? Jalen Smith tore his ACL in the bowl game and fell to the third round when he was projected top 10 pick. It's just not worth it. Why would you play? Oh, well, you got to go play for your team and win and die for your team. Well, I think your team understands that this is a bit more important than college, where a lot of the college players, this is their last game. This means everything to them. Well, he's got something else on the horizon. He needs to worry about that over the team. At the end of the day, in America, myself is more important than them. So you got to take care of yourself. And I think there's too many bowl games. The bowl system is antiquated. It's a waste of time. I think the playoff is the future, and they're expanding the playoff. Wasn't it, is 8 teams in the playoff now? What was that?
In what?
Let me check that. The college football playoff, I'm pretty sure, is expanding.
Yeah, there were talks about expansion. I don't know if they went through with it. But...
Yeah, I'm not sure if they officially did it. But I remember hearing about expanding it to 8 teams, I believe it was. And
I thought they were going to expand to 12.
Was it 12? Oh, yeah, they were considering expansion to 12 teams. I'll have to look more into that to see what was going on, because I believe it was around the lines where the Power 5, if you win the Power 5s, then you would, like your SEC, the Pac-12, Big 12's falling apart.
Okay, so yeah, they proposed in June of the 12-team playoff proposal. So I don't think it's been accepted or denied yet, but it's just a proposal.
But that's kind of the future, and
probably.
Yeah, and I didn't like how they kind of had to work the bowl games into the playoff. Like, oh, the Rose Bowl is part of the playoff. That's weird. They want to keep the games there, but there's like no bowl games in the north. All the big bowl games are down south in warmer areas. So you have a Big Ten team traveling down to the Rose Bowl to play a team that's more familiar with that area. I think that's a bit unfair, but I don't know. I've never been the biggest proponent of college sports anyways.
But yeah, you're saying about Jalen Smith earlier. He did tear his ACL and LCL back in the Fiesta Bowl game in 2016.
The Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, against Ohio State, and ended up falling to the second round to the Cowboys.
And he was a projected top 10 pick. Do you think all the money he left on the field there? Just a dumb freak injury?
But, I mean, he's had a solid NFL career. He's been a starter for the Cowboys the last 3 years.
I think he signed a big extension.
Yeah, back in 2019, signed a 5-year, $64 million contract extension with $35.5 million guaranteed.
So it worked out in the end, but
yeah,
it's just one of those things where risk reward is the risk of playing in that bowl game and then not getting a second contract in the NFL worth it? I don't think so. So I have no problem with players sitting out.
But let's rotate to Detroit and Cade Cunningham. What do you think of his summer league so far?
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. He's so I didn't watch. I watched highlights from 2 of the 3 games, but I of course watched the game where they were playing Jalen Green and the Houston Rockets.
Right.
And when because Jalen Green got off to a bad start, ended up still scoring a ton of points. Jalen Green's awesome. He's super athletic. He looks like he's going to be a great scorer, but he has no business on the defensive end, has no vision to pass. So I'm fully behind the Cade Cunningham pick at 1, even though Jalen Green does look like he's going to be a really good player.
Mm-hmm.
But when Cade walked up to the 3-point line and jab stepped and then crossed over and sent Green into another zip code laying on the floor and then drilled a 3, That was probably the coolest thing I've ever seen. Pistons basketball wise. That was incredible. And he's got vision. I think his assist numbers are going to be a lot higher when he's playing with real NBA players. Then you put him on the floor with Green and Bay and the full roster of starters, and teams stop double teaming and triple teaming him and give him space to work. I think the numbers are going to come up a lot. But God, he looks smooth as hell. You know, you have players that just look like they know what's going to happen and don't need elite athleticism to make things happen. He looks like that. I think he's going to be an incredible player. He's probably going to be the best Pistons player since Grant Hill. You know, as far as, because they haven't had a lot of transcendent talents.
No.
Like I know Ben Wallace got in the Hall of Fame, but that's more of an ode to the defensive era, and they wanted a player from the going to work Pistons in the Hall of Fame, and that's fine. And he was a great defender, but does he really deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? That's a conversation for another day. Chauncey, as great as he was, Grant Hill was the last like true superstar I think the Pistons actually had, and I think Cade might hopefully Cade super passes him. Like that would be awesome. But Sadiq Bey, also on another note on the Pistons, Sadiq Bey in his second season looks like a grown man out there playing with kids in summer league. He is bullying them around. He looks like he's going to be a real steal for the Pistons. But I don't know. Future's looking bright. I think they could push for one of the outside playoff
they
spots.
Got Killian Hayes too. He looks like he could be a solid player.
Hayes is the wild card at this point. If he had a really good move on someone the other day, I saw highlights of that. But if the Pistons are going to be great, they do need Hayes to hit. Otherwise, they'll need a new lottery pick. But if Hayes hits and he can play next to Cunningham, which watching them in summer league, I'm less confident on, but I get it. Summer league, it's not a big deal. We'll see how Casey deploys them in the regular season, but if they can play together, they can do some magical things. Yeah, because Hayes does have the talent. He's very raw. Cade is way more refined than him at this point. Cade's a polished NBA player, whereas Killian Hayes has a lot to learn, and that's fine. He was a 7th overall pick. His upside is very high, but he could also completely bust out.
But Cade Cunningham, he had 7 3-pointers against the Knicks on Friday.
He was lighting it up.
He was.
He's got a shot. I'm a huge Damian Lillard fan, so I'm hoping that Cade can
emulate
him. Similar to Lillard, but he is a bit larger. So a lot of people, I think the mold is similar to Luka Doncic, which would be great. But
speaking of Luka, he just signed a 5-year, $207 million supermax rookie extension. Not really surprising. But Luka Doncic, well deserving. Obviously, he's a breakout star, potential face of the NBA. He had a very good Olympic run with what was it, Croatia, right?
I think he's from Croatia.
Or is it Slovenia?
Maybe. Oh, it's Slovenia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, Slovenia. But he carried them to their first ever Olympics and then carried them all the way to the semifinal game, I believe.
They're kind of a mess in Dallas still. They don't really have anyone around him, so they need to figure that out. Porzingis isn't what they thought he was.
Yeah, but this was the largest guaranteed rookie extension in NBA history. So clearly, leaving his mark on the NBA, and he's gonna have a very long and solid NBA career for himself.
Hopefully, they can put a team around him eventually, and he can get a shot at a ring.
Yeah, could possibly be the next Dirk and be a lifetime Maverick.
Mark Cuban likes to pay his players. He takes care of them, keeps them around, keeps them happy.
Yeah, absolutely. So Slovenia did come in 4th place in Tokyo in their first ever Olympic appearance. So that's pretty impressive to take a country that's never been in the Olympics for basketball before and take them all the way to number 4. So he's got the talent. He just needs like 1 or 2 solid players around him, and I think Dallas could go far.
Give me 1 sec.
All right, yep.
Yeah, I think this Slack thing works.
I don't know what that's about, but gives us a little heads up, I guess.
All right, cool.
But yeah, solid podcast today. Hit what we wanted to hit and did it in a timely manner. So, but yeah, we'll try and get on a more better schedule. Have everything more planned out. We want to get at least one podcast out a week. So be on the lookout every Monday around 5 or 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, I think we'll make some nice progress on this. Hopefully more news stories comes out and we'll be right on it. So got anything else you want to say?
No, that's good. It was a good time. Covered a lot.
Yep.
Always enjoy this.
Awesome. Yeah. Can't wait for you guys to go along this ride with us, and hope you guys enjoy this because I know we are. So thank you guys. This was Ballverse episode 4. See you next time.